Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Marcy Gonzalez. Here are the top 5 things you need to know this Thursday. Number 1, the attack at Pearl Harbor.
2 Defense Department employees were fatally shot and another wounded at the Pearl Harbor shipyard in Hawaii. Authorities say the U.S. sailor who opened fire took his own life.
Police said it was not immediately clear if the gunman knew the victims. Officials have not revealed a motive for the attack. Number 2, the impeachment debate on Capitol Hill, with legal scholars laying out what they believe the framers of the Constitution had in mind.
A constitutional expert picked by Republicans testified that more evidence is needed, but 3 other law professors called by House Democrats Wednesday testify President Trump clearly abused his power by pressuring Ukraine to investigate his political rivals.
The House Judiciary Committee is now waiting to see if the White House will participate in any of the next hearings. A full House vote is expected before Christmas.
On to number 3, thousands of additional American troops could soon be heading to the Middle East.
Officials say the increase is being considered because of indications that Iran may be preparing to take more aggressive action in the region. The Iranian government has been cracking down on widespread protests that erupted across the country after fuel prices were raised.
Hundreds of people have reportedly been killed. A Pentagon decision on troop levels in the region is expected in the next few weeks.
Number 4, a story that is for the birds. We told you recently about a huge decline in the bird population in North America. Well, now there's a new concern.
A new study being called the largest of its kind warns that birds are shrinking. Scientists say nearly all of the species that they've studied have been getting smaller in the last 40 years, and they blame climate change. One theory is that smaller birds are better at cooling off.
But scientists also found the birds' wingspans are growing to help them migrate.
And finally, number 5, the color of the year for 2020 has now been announced by the Color Institute.
All right, you might remember the hue selected to define this year was living coral. It was supposed to embody our need for optimism.
And the winner for 2020 is Classic Blue. It won out because it reflects qualities like serenity and stability. It's described as timeless, elegant, restful, honest, and non-aggressive. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be back here on It's Morning America. Marcy, you've been holding it down here on our digital show.
I haven't. We've been missing you, though.
You know,
so happy you're back.
I'm back now, and you're having so much fun on It's Morning America.
We are. We're going to have a great...
This wasn't here last time you were based in New York, right?
No, this is a new thing to me, but very cool. So glad that we get to share more of the big day, the big stories of the day.
Right. We surely do.
We surely do. On digital. But we do want to get to the deadly shooting at Pearl Harbor, where authorities say a sailor opened fire on the base, killing 2 civilians and wounding a 3rd.
It happened in a shipyard used for warships and submarines and comes just days before the anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack. This morning, shock at Pearl Harbor after a deadly shooting on the military base.
It was very scary.
Investigators say a sailor opened fire near the shipyard in an area where nuclear submarines are maintained before turning the gun on himself.
I can also report the shooter, who has tentatively been identified as an active duty sailor assigned to USS Columbia, is also deceased by an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The historic base, home to 66,000 people, placed on lockdown, along with nearby elementary schools, as base personnel were alerted by text to shelter in place.
And I heard a bunch of shots going off in the area, and we were told by my chief to hunker down, stay indoors, and just be safe.
2 Defense Department employees were killed, and a 3rd was wounded. This morning, authorities are not releasing the names of the victims, who are all men, or the shooter, only saying it was not immediately clear if the gunman knew the victims. The shooting came just 3 days before the anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor that drew the United States into World War II.
The role that the shipyard played in World War II is pretty legendary, and the shipyard is well known for, the amazing work they did then and the amazing work they continue to do. So this is certainly a tragedy.
Authorities have not revealed any motive for the shooting. The 3rd victim, a 36-year-old man, was in guarded condition at the hospital overnight, which means between critical and serious condition.
Turning now to the other big story, a combative day in the impeachment showdown. Lawmakers and legal scholars are arguing over what the framers of the Constitution had in mind when it comes to impeachment.
3 prominent law professors testified there's no doubt that President Trump abused his power. In response, the president fired back on Twitter last night, defending his phone call to Ukraine. The First Lady is also taking aim after an impeachment witness referenced her 13-year-old son to make a point. ABC's Inez de la Cartara has the latest from Washington. Inez, good morning.
Good morning, Kenneth and Marcy. It was a new round of public hearings and a new round of partisan clashes as the House Judiciary Committee explores whether the president committed an impeachable offense in his dealings with Ukraine.
President Trump is back in Washington, where the impeachment inquiry entered a new phase led by the House Judiciary Committee.
If what we're talking about is not impeachable, then nothing is impeachable.
Democrats brought in 3 legal scholars who testified the Ukraine scandal is evidence the president abused his power for his own personal political gain and that he should be impeached.
President Trump's conduct, as described in the testimony and evidence, clearly constitutes impeachable high crimes and misdemeanors under the Constitution.
Republicans were allowed to invite their own expert who did not defend the president, but argued Democrats were moving too fast and have not yet proved their case.
It's wrong because this is not how you impeach an American president. Why you want to set the record for the fastest impeachment? Fast is not good for impeachment.
And then there was this moment.
The Constitution says there can be no titles of nobility. So while the president can name his son Baron, he can't make him a baron.
Let me also suggest that when you invoke the president's son's name here, when you try to make a little joke out of referencing Baron Trump, that does not lend credibility to your argument. It makes you look mean.
The First Lady writing on Twitter that a minor child deserves privacy and should be kept out of politics. Professor Carlin later apologized.
It was wrong of me to do that.
And the House Judiciary Committee has given the president until Thursday to decide whether he'll participate in the next round of public hearings. A full House vote is expected before Christmas.
All right, and Inez, the Republican-called expert, Professor Turley, criticized the process, but he actually said that the conduct would be impeachable if it was proven.
That's right. Yeah, he said that Democrats were moving too quickly. He cautioned them against moving too quickly, and he said they haven't yet met the burden of proof. Here's what he had to say.
The problem is not that abuse of power can never be an impeachable offense. You just have to prove it, and you haven't. It's not enough to say, I infer this was the purpose. I infer that this is what was intended, when you're not actually subpoenaing people with direct knowledge. And instead you're saying we must vote in this rocket docket of an impeachment.
Now, we should note that House Democrats have subpoenaed people with direct knowledge of what happened with Ukraine, but the White House has blocked them from testifying. Kenneth and Marcy.
All right, Inez, thank you. It'd be interesting to see if the Democrats pump the brakes a little bit on it, but all signs point to no, not at all. Hey, meanwhile, President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is in Ukraine today, reportedly to work on a docu-series aimed at defending the president. According to the New York Times, Giuliani is interviewing former prosecutors who claim they tied former Vice President Joe Biden and his son to corruption in Ukraine. Those now disputed claims led to Trump's push to get the new Ukrainian government to open an investigation into the Bidens, which led to the current impeachment proceeding in the House. And President Trump is back at the White House after 2 days of meetings with NATO leaders in London.
Before heading home, he slammed the impeachment hearing, and he also ended up in a spat with the Canadian Prime Minister, triggered by a video that went viral. ABC's Jonathan Karl has the latest.
President Trump was outside of London meeting with NATO leaders as impeachment hearings got underway. Thousands of miles away, but paying close attention to what was happening on Capitol Hill.
But think of it. They get 3 constitutional lawyers and we get 1. What's that all about? It is the most unfair thing that anybody's ever seen. Now, I don't think too many people are going to watch because it's going to be boring, all right?
The president was also paying attention to this, a video clip from a reception in Buckingham Palace where several leaders, including British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, French President Emmanuel Macron, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, can be heard apparently laughing about how President Trump threw off their schedule by talking to the press for so long during their meetings. And Trudeau described the reaction from President Trump's advisors when he unexpectedly announced that next year's G7 meeting will be at Camp David. This morning, Trudeau acknowledged the leaders were talking about President Trump.
Last night, I made a reference to the fact that there was an unscheduled press conference before my meeting with President Trump, and I was happy to take part of it, but it was certainly notable.
After the video clip went viral, the president was asked about it and took a shot at Trudeau.
Have you had video of Prime Minister Trudeau talking about you last night?
Well, he's two-faced. And honestly, with Trudeau, he's a nice guy. I find him to be a very nice guy. But, you know, the truth is that I called him out on the fact that he's not paying 2%, and I guess he's not very happy about it.
A short while later, President Trump was overheard boasting about what he called Trudeau.
That was funny when I said the guy's two-faced, you know.
The president had one final event on his schedule, a closing press conference, but that was abruptly canceled at the last minute. One factor may be that he had already taken many questions from reporters over the past 2 days. Jonathan Karl, ABC News, London.
And for the second time in a month, former President Jimmy Carter has been discharged from a Georgia hospital.
He was released yesterday from a facility near his home in Plains after being treated for a urinary tract infection. Last month, the 95-year-old underwent surgery to relieve bleeding in his brain caused by a series of falls.
Nearly 700,000 people will lose access to the federal food stamp program under a new Trump administration policy. The rule, which takes effect next April, makes individual states enforce work requirements for able-bodied adults without children. Governors have been able to waive those requirements, particularly in economically distressed areas. Democrats called the new rule cruel and heartless. The administration says it will cut more than $5 billion from food stamp spending over 5 years. A massive chemical fire forced evacuations in northwest Arkansas. That thick smoke rose above a plastics plant in Bentonville. The CEO of United Industrials says the flame started in a styrofoam storage area behind the building. An emergency air alert was put in place, and workers at a nearby Walmart were sent home as a precaution. No one was hurt.
And 7 days after an explosion rocked another chemical plant in eastern Texas, new evacuations have been ordered. Authorities concerned about butadiene levels after the fire at this plant in Port Neches. A voluntary evacuation has been issued for all residents of the city. Schools are closed for the rest of the week. Officials say chemical levels in the air may cause dizziness, nausea, and headaches. It may irritate the eyes and throat, but they insist there's no long-term danger.
Catholics in the city of Buffalo, New York, who've been demanding their bishop be ousted, are getting their wish. The Vatican has accepted the resignation of Bishop Richard Malone, who has been widely criticized for his handling of sexual abuse claims made against priests. The Pope named Albany Bishop Edward Scharfenberger to run the diocese temporarily.
I'm not here as a knight in shining armor. I'm not here, as the fix-it man. I'm just here to be as a spiritual father.
Interim Bishop Scharfenberger is promising accountability, even while taking on more than 200 new lawsuits. But he admits that restoring trust in the church will take time.
Officials in Paris are hoping to avoid scenes like this today during a big protest march. Demonstrations in the French capital and across the whole country are meant to oppose French President Emmanuel Macron's plans to overhaul France's retirement system. Thousands of police are deployed across France. In Paris, they've banned protests in areas popular with tourists.
A new problem with Takata airbags has the company expanding its U.S. recalls. Takata is adding more than 1 million front driver inflators to those recalls. BMW is telling owners of some older 3 Series cars with those inflators to stop driving them. Some Audi, Honda, Toyota, and Mitsubishi vehicles are also affected. Takata says the inflator's propellant can deteriorate over time, which could make the airbags explode and hurl shrapnel into vehicles. The malfunction has led to at least 1 death.
The paper receipt may soon be a thing of the past in New York City. Lawmakers are considering whether to ban receipts coated with the chemicals BPA or BPS because of concern the chemicals could be harmful to women's reproductive systems. Others have pushed a ban for environmental reasons, some targeting long receipts like the ones at CVS. A Florida man recently found another use for his receipts. He used the long paper to replace a broken window blind.
Pretty brilliant. And New Jersey wants to put cursive writing back into the script for school kids. A bill's been proposed that would require students to learn how to write in script by the end of 3rd grade. The bill's sponsor feels current standards put kids just at a big disadvantage, saying some students entering middle school just don't know how to sign their names. Nearly 24 states have made similar efforts.
And they can practice on those long receipts.
There you go. That's what they're meant for, right? That's why they give them to us to encourage it.
Yes, but I'm pretty sure that's our question of the day as well. Should children still have to learn cursive? Is it needed? I think it is. For those beautifully written thank you cards.
You're again trying to brag about
me
the
writing thank you cards. Yes, I am. Also, you need them for like signing all types of documents, loan papers,
what are you
mortgages.
Print your name? It says sign, not print. So you have to know how to do that. I can't believe that kids aren't learning it. That's good. That's safe. No one could ever forge that.
I am from South Carolina, so that's what. No, we know how to do some cursive down there. But please tell us what you think in the comments section. Tweet us at ABC News Live. Let us know. We want to hear from you.
We sure do. All right. Well, coming up as we get ready to close out 2019, is there one image that sums up the whole year?
Plus, the holiday ad that's found itself on lots of shoppers' naughty list, the backlash, and what the company is saying this morning. After this.
Welcome back now to the latest on the vaping epidemic, which has impacted every state in the country.
The Minnesota Attorney General has announced that his office is suing vaping brand Juul.
ABC's Elena Gomez has more.
We're using the power of the Minnesota Attorney General's office to bring a lawsuit against Juul Labs on behalf of the state and the people of Minnesota.
Minnesota announcing it's fighting back, suing vaping company Juul, claiming it targeted young people like 17-year-old Will Gittler.
What they didn't tell me is that the nicotine content was marginally higher.
Gittler switched to vaping in an effort to quit smoking, something he thought was a safer alternative.
It feels like I've been deceived, like the progress that I thought I was making wasn't progress.
Communities in every state are seeing the impacts of vaping. The latest numbers from the CDC show that more than 2,000 people have lung illnesses from e-cigarettes, and 47 people have died. The government agency now linking a form of vitamin E as a potential culprit for recent vaping injuries.
This is the lab where you...
ABC's Gio Benitez recently toured the New York lab who made the link between vitamin E acetate and vaping after testing more than 50 patients.
So this is the vitamin E acetate.
It's the same consistency as cannabis oil.
Communities across the country are taking a closer look at these findings and taking aggressive steps.
We're suing Juul because they have deceived and misled Minnesota consumers of all ages, created a public nuisance, and especially harmed our young people.
Minnesota isn't the only state suing Juul Labs. New York, California, and North Carolina are also taking the vaping company to court. In Los Angeles, Elena Gomez, ABC News.
All right, let's take a break now and check our notifications. Starting with Instagram wanting to know how old you are. New users will now be asked for their date of birth when they sign up. The move is designed to protect younger users. For now, Instagram users only had to confirm they were 13 or older. For current users, if you have a Facebook account, Instagram will grab your birth date from there. You can also add it on your own. But Marcy, as you mentioned earlier this morning, people obviously...
Why would you tell the truth? If you're a kid trying to get on when you're not supposed to, you might not be honest.
They're like 1990. Which I'm like, gosh, 1990 is like...
I feel like that should make you a child still.
Yeah, but you're like 19. Is that right?
Oh,
no, God, you're 29. My math is way off.
Those people are not lying about their age.
You ever gone to like the store and it's like to buy cigarettes or alcohol? It's like, it must be, and the age just keeps getting like closer and closer.
Like,
and
wasn't
I'm like,
that last year? You have to be 1 year old to buy lottery tickets?
Like the year, I saw one that was like the year 2000, and I was like, I remember the year 2000.
Way too clearly. That means we're getting old, my friend.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, next up, one of the NFL's top teams may have some extra spiritual support. Pope Francis is now the owner of a Baltimore Ravens jersey. The gift from the Bishop of Baltimore is autographed. It has quarterback Lamar Jackson's number 8 and the name Francis on the back.
He's probably like, can I get my own number?
Right?
Gotta have the QBs. Yeah, number 1. There you go. Hey, in a British school might have a new world record on their hands for a gigantic marshmallow. It is a big one. You see them making it there. It was like 3 feet or something on all sides. They got to do this little cup suction thing and then get it out of there.
And they make it look like some character that we
Right.
have not heard of.
Some character I'm pretty sure they know over there, over in the UK, that I had no clue. It's like some type of bear.
So do they get to eat it afterwards? How does that work?
Is it edible? That's what I would like to know. That's my British accent.
That was your British accent?
That was it. That was it.
Oh. Well, you know.
They don't even have to go across the pond now because I just gave you guys a
Yeah,
little
I mean,
bit.
I just feel like I'm in London.
Yes.
Sitting next to you. That's amazing. You know by now that the force is strong with Baby Yoda, who has become the internet's favorite meme. Well, one fan is honoring Baby Yoda along with another 2019 favorite.
Take a look at this tattoo showing Baby Yoda sipping. Yes, that is a White Claw. The alcoholic seltzers have exploded in popularity this year, so combined with Baby Yoda, some are saying with this tattoo, we've reached peak 2019.
We really have. It's okay to end the year now. We've seen it all.
Seen it
that
all.
sums it up. That's what 2019
That
was
is
about.
it.
And now,
Drop the ball, 2020.
And now he'll remember it forever.
There you
Cherish
go.
this year.
Now to the backlash over that Peloton bike ad, dividing the internet, some calling it sexist.
But Peloton is standing by the ad, and some are rushing to the company's defense. Will Gans has the story, so you can decide for yourself.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Now.
A Peloton? Give it up for our first time ride.
All right, first ride. I'm a little nervous, but excited. Let's do this.
It's the holiday ad dividing the internet. A husband surprising his wife with a Peloton stationary workout bike. The backlash swift, accusing the company of peddling sexist ideas of marriage. Nothing says maybe you should lose a few pounds like gifting your already rail-thin life partner a Peloton. Comedian Eva Victor spoofing the ad.
Okay, my first ride. I'm a little bit nervous, and rightly so, because my husband got me a workout bike for Christmas, and that's rude. Let's go.
Her video racking up nearly 4 million views on Twitter alone. Others saying the commercial is downright creepy. I knew I'd seen that Peloton face before. While internet users continue to have fun with the ad, the financial backlash is no joke. Stock for the fitness startup fell 9% this week. The company also dropping the price of its digital-only subscription. Peloton releasing this statement. While we're disappointed in how some have misinterpreted this commercial, we're encouraged by and grateful for the outpouring of support we've received from those who understand what we were trying to communicate. While some certainly do support the brand,
5 days in a row. You surprised?
others continue to poke fun, continuing that vicious cycle.
6 days in a row. Are you surprised? I am, but my marriage is still intact. Let's get on the bike.
Experts say the company may have the last laugh since they're now part of this huge cultural conversation.
I said earlier I wasn't taking it all too seriously, and I'm pretty sure somebody's going to be angry at me for saying that. But it's true. Like, I'm just like, hey, guys,
Well, we have so many other things to worry
A
about.
lot
Do
of
we
things.
really have? I can see the message. More than anything, though, I'm just enjoying all of these spoofs.
Oh,
Like-
those are funny. The memes are funny.
Bring it on.
That comedian, hilarious.
So good.
Yes,
it's
good
so
stuff.
good. So I'm grateful for that. That is the gift
There
that
you
keeps
go.
giving.
Positive
Forget the
outlook.
workout. Yeah. All right. Well,
that.
coming up, we will tell you what to watch out for on this Thursday, now in the thick of holiday season.
Plus, how one soldier's family is celebrating their first Christmas apart and reminding us the sacrifices our service members make. Stay with us. Here's what to watch out for today. Arguments will be made on whether a Florida school district should be ordered to allow transgender students to use the bathroom that matches their identity, and what could become the first ruling on the subject by a federal appeals court.
SpaceX will make another attempt to launch its Falcon 9 rocket on a resupply mission to the International Space Station after yesterday's planned launch was delayed because of high winds.
President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, and their family will participate in the lighting of the national Christmas tree. Colorado Blue Spruce from Virginia and President's Park. It's a tradition that has been carried on by every president since 1923.
Also a tradition since 1923, the lighting of the New York Stock Exchange Christmas tree. It's a 65-foot tall spruce from New Jersey, complete with performances by Dionne Warwick, Rhonda Vincent, and the cast of Phantom of the Opera.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the Deep Brief for an update on all our top stories, in the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines and politics.
Well, those Christmas trees are beautiful, but the holidays are not always easy, especially for military families.
For one Florida woman and her boys, it will be their first Christmas without her husband. He left earlier this year for a one-year deployment. serving overseas as a Black Hawk pilot, but she came up with a creative way to include him in their celebration.
Every time you go to bed, you're constantly reminded that they're not here, and every time you have a tradition that you normally do and they're not there. The holidays are hard, and it's hard when you're doing it alone. I said, just can you take a photo of you in your uniform with your hand out? And he really had no idea what I was doing.
And that right there is what she was doing. Danielle's Christmas card features her with her twin boys on one side, the other half her husband as he serves our country. And she wants others to realize that soldiers make sacrifices, but so do their families.
They sure do, and we know that, and we salute those military families and those service members serving this country, especially during the holidays.
So grateful for their service.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that is it for us on this Thursday. We are one day away from Friday.
Almost made it.
And we will see you tomorrow.
Have a great day, everyone.